for the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers. Freaking cheeseheads. I hate Green Bay. Hate so many things about them. Their stupid colors, their stupid stadium, the freaking lake that they border. It's not Green Bay, it's Brown Bay. Disgusting. Disgusting, I said! I get great pleasure when the Packers don't play well, when the Packers don't do well, when they miss the playoffs. Because at least then I can say as a Bears fan, hey, at least they got something in common this year. Because they usually don't. Most of my lifetime, the Packers have been vastly superior in so many ways, and pretty much every way that matters. The Bears might have a blip in the radar of success, but that's just a blip. Where, like, the Packers have a full-on cheesy boner erection of success. So, like last year, the Packers not making the playoffs. There's a part of me that was very pleased with that, was very happy about that. Enjoyed the fact that they'd be sitting their asses at home in the for the playoffs just like the Bears were. But then there's also, when I get past that personal bias, that football fan, that historian of the game, that understands that true greatness doesn't come around all the time, and I want to be able to appreciate it while I can. And I look at somebody like Aaron Rodgers. He's going to be an all-time great quarterback in the annals of NFL history. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame someday. He's, for my money, the best pure quarterback in the game today. And those guys are special. And you don't want to see those guys miss significant portions of the season because it's not good for their team, it's not good for the city, it's not good for rivalries, it's just not good for the league, period. And personally, as a Bears fan, you know it's happened far too infrequently during Aaron Rodgers' time, over the decade plus as a starting quarterback, is the Bears are going to beat the Packers. I want them to beat the Packers with Aaron Rodgers as the starting quarterback. That way there's no excuses, no justifications, it's just they lost. So it's no fun. Bears still find a way to lose to them anyways. What the hell difference does it make? But, again, when you're talking about Rodgers, you're talking about somebody truly special. And I want to be able to appreciate watching him play while I still can. And while he still can play. Which has to make it frustrating if you're a Packers fan when you watch, similarly it feels like in some ways to what happened with Brett Favre his last 8-9 years in Green Bay, is that a lot of those years of his peak career were wasted. And that's what you're kind of feeling like with Aaron Rodgers, is this organization is wasting a once-in-a-lifetime type of quarterback. That's crazy. And this is the second time they're doing it. It's got to be frustrating. It absolutely has to be, and it should be. And after all those years of complaining about Ted Thompson and holding on to Dom Capers too long, well, now Dom Capers is finally fired. That's got to be good for the Packers. Has to be. Especially since they hired Mike Pettin. He's a really good defensive coordinator. Notice I said defensive coordinator, but he has proven his chops in the league as a really good defensive coordinator. You look at the Green Bay Packers, all the complaints over the years about Ted Thompson and too much faith in his drafting philosophy and not enough aggressiveness at key times in free agency. And a lot of those Packer fans are absolutely right. Ted Thompson, I know, used to take great pride in the vast majority of his roster being drafted by the team, being developed and cultivated by the team. And that's all fine and good, but if a lot of your picks aren't that great, that doesn't matter. That means you're too stubbornly trying to defend what you've done instead of doing the best thing for your team. And you end up overpaying for guys that you've had in the fold that aren't that good because you overvalue them. The Brian Bulaga contracts of the world and stuff like that. So Packer fans had to be happy when Ted Thompson was no longer the general manager of the team. And they should be. Sometimes change is good. Sometimes change for the sake of change is not good, but it feels like this was a positive change one way or another. Because you needed a little bit of shaking up in the organization and its attitude, its approach, its philosophy. And hopefully this good Kunster, however the fuck you say his name, will bring some of that. Even though I think he was a Ted Thompson minion. But you look at this, and the Packers needed to do something different. Now, they cut Jordy Nelson, which probably wasn't the most popular move in the world. But he's on the wrong side of 30, coming off of a lackluster season. Yeah, without Aaron Rodgers, but still. You know, Davante Adams had clearly surpassed him on the depth chart as the number one guy. That's why they paid Davante Adams decent money. Time probably to send Jordy Nelson packing. Now, they did take some of that money and reinvest it in other places by bringing in Jimmy Graham and bringing in Muhammad Wilkerson. Jimmy Graham gives them what they hope to be is a different element at tight end that they didn't get out of Martellus Bennett and other guys that they've had at the position, Jared Cook and so forth, but we'll see. Muhammad Wilkerson's played under Pettine previously as a defensive coordinator. When you look at Muhammad Wilkerson, he's a guy, one-year rental. You're bringing him in. He's playing for a contract, realistically. So he fits what you do on defense. Yeah, good signing. Low risk, incredibly high potential for reward. That's a good way to utilize free agency. Now, to me, it was a surprise that the Packers weren't more in on the Khalil Mack situation because you had 2 first-round picks coming up in 2019 with the Davenport trade with the Saints in this past draft. It felt like that would have been the perfect time for the Packers to make a real statement. You've got your Hall of Famer on offense. Now you need your Hall of Famer on defense. You need that impact player, somebody off of the edge that's going to make a true difference. Not like you pretend Clay Matthews is going to, but a real difference. And Khalil Mack would have done that. And you can say, sure, it would have been very restrictive from a salary cap standpoint to trade for Khalil Mack and then pay him all that money. But you needed to do something different. And playing it safe like they did by drafting guys and then re-signing them and so forth. What has that really gotten the Green Bay Packers? A lot of disappointing finishes to season since the Super Bowl year back in the 2010 season. That's what it's gotten them. I mean, that's just the way it is. And then when you look at the draft, you bring in Jair Alexander, Joshua Jackson, combining that with Kevin King being drafted in round 2 last year, looking at it and you're saying, okay, maybe that secondary has some real talent there and could no longer be a weakness for them. Then you bring in a guy like Warren Burks in the 3rd round from Vanderbilt. He'll be a starter this year. They made some good choices on draft day. This feels like that would have been a perfect time to trade for a guy like Mack. It's just like you should have looked at what Ted Thompson would have done and then perhaps done something different. Ted Thompson, no way he would have ever even entertained trading for Khalil Mack, so maybe that should have given you a reason to do it. But ultimately they didn't, and the Packers are where they are at this point in time. Now when you look at them, they still got Aaron Rodgers, and if he's healthy, they can always compete. They always can contend and always have a chance because Aaron Rodgers is that damn good. They still got a pretty good receiving core with Devontae Adams, Randall Cobb. One of the other young guys, I'm sure, on that roster is going to step in and fill in that void a little bit left by Jordy Nelson. You've got Jimmy Graham in the fold now. That defensive line, you bring in Muhammad Wilkerson, pair him with Mike Daniels, maybe Kenny Clark. That's a pretty good defensive front as well. I'm still concerned about that secondary because that is a young secondary. It feels like the Packers have finally addressed that secondary and have more faith in Pettine as a D coordinator at this point than I did in Dom Capers. But young secondaries can play above themselves and be confident and change cultures, and they can also get burned at key moments at bad times in horrible situations. And then I look at that running game for the Packers. Where's that consistent running game going to come from? You shouldn't have to rely on Aaron Rodgers being Superman all the time. At some point in time, you got to be able to run the ball with more purpose and consistency to help out Aaron Rodgers in that passing game and to help out the defense as well by keeping them off the damn field. And who are we looking at for the Packers in terms of the running game? Ty Montgomery, Jones kid? Who is it? I literally don't know who's going to be the starter. It seems crazy to me that they haven't addressed that position better. When you look at the schedule for this Packers team, first 2 weeks of the year is a chance for Green Bay to get off to a good start. Hosting Chicago, hosting Minnesota, you have a chance to go 2-0, 2-0 in your division. Saddle each of the teams in your division, or 2 of them at least, with a loss and a divisional loss at that. The first 2 weeks of the season is important for the Packers. Chance to get off to some good momentum, get off to a good start, and do it at home and against divisional opponents. Good place to be in the middle of the year, weeks 8 and 9. They back-to-back weeks. They host the Rams. They host New England. Kind of a lucky break there. So when you look at it, the Packers, you got a chance to start off the season early, and then a couple of what you perceive to be tougher games later on in the year. You're looking at it and you're saying, okay, they got them at home too. I think this Packers team is going to be better than they were last year, and that's not just because Aaron Rodgers is there. I think they've added some nice pieces in that secondary in the draft with Alexander and Jackson. I like Burks as a starter in the middle of their defense. I like the addition of Wilkerson up front. He's going to be an upgrade and an improvement there for them for sure. And you look at it, they got a better defensive coordinator in my opinion. If anything, I could expect the offense to take a small step back compared to some of the previous years with Aaron Rodgers, and the defense make a little bit of a move up the board. I think the Packers are a good team. I think they're a playoff contender. They're a contender for this division. I anticipate they could win somewhere between 10 to 11 games this year. But Green Bay, and Packers fans, I know you're going to flame on me for this. Well, melt your fucking cheese curds and hold on to your cheese heads. That's nasty anyways. I'm going to put this on my head and then I'm going to put stuff in it and eat it. And yeah, some of you sick, nasty, fat Wisconsin fucks do that. All I know is this. We're coming. You better back the Mac. Because the Mac attack is coming for the Pack. In week 1 at Lambeau Field, Sunday night, you better buckle up, bitches, because this is the Bears year. This is the Bears time, and they're winning that NFC North, damn you!